Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. I appreciate you guys for tapping into yet another Akem'S analysis. Had to take a week off last week. I was doing a lot of traveling. I had my bachelor party last weekend, as well as I was in East Montana this past week, so didn't have a ton of time to record. I was away during the weekend, and then for the week, I was also away. I got home Monday night at midnight. I left Tuesday morning at like 5 a.m. So it was a quick turnaround. Didn't have enough time to record at all, but I am back. Also, I think sometimes it's good to take a week or two off, to help from burnout. Not that you get burnt out talking about sports, but I did take a week off, so I'm back. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the channel. Please make sure you guys hit that like. Please make sure you guys hit that subscribe. Please make sure you guys leave me a comment down below. Yes, I did have my bachelor party, which means my wedding is coming up very soon. I'm very, very excited about that. Going to be making my fiance my wife, so not going to get too much into that. But I got a really great video for you guys today. First things first, I'm going to be giving my initial Big Sky preseason poll. I will drop another one as we get closer to the season. Really, preseason polls don't really mean squat diddly nothing. But I think it's good to look at, see where the teams are going to be ranked. Obviously, Montana State's going to be the number one team, but we can see where I have the other teams ranked in there. I had an interesting question posed to me a couple of weeks ago, and it is, what if QB proficiency isn't as important as we want to believe in the Big Sky? In other words, how often has the best QB in the league also been on the best team? So we're going to be looking at some data from the past 8 seasons and seeing how the best QB in the league and where the best team in the league was, and not necessarily where the best team in the league was, but where the best QB in the league played and where their team ended up ranked at the end of the season. So we'll look at that. Sam Herder and Hero Sports dropped their 2025 FCS preseason top 25 media poll. So we'll look at that a little bit. There's some more teams leaving the CAA. We are going to talk about that. Sam Herder dropped the list of an unofficial list of the teams that have said they're going to be opting into the House settlement. Since that has now been approved, I think it's valuable to look at what teams have opted into that settlement and discuss kind of what those changes are going to look like for them. And then, obviously, towards the back half of the video, we're going to talk about the passing of the House settlement. Obviously, that's a little less FCS focused, a little more college football in general, more college athletics focused. So we're going to look at that and see kind of what changes that's going to bring to college football, because obviously that's going to bring a wave of changes to college football. So what are those? What do they look like? What is it going to be? We'll discuss all of that. And then we got some miscellaneous topics at the end. I got a fun topic at the very end. We're going to look at some ChatGPT jokes about FCS football. And, I think we'll have a good laugh about it. So please make sure you guys hit the like. Please make sure you guys hit the subscribe. Please make sure you guys leave me a comment down below. I thank you so much for tuning into the channel. We are nearing 1,800 subscribers. So please hit that subscribe button right now and get us over that 1,800 number. If you can send it out to 200 people, get it out to them so we can get over that 2,000 number. But I appreciate you guys for tapping in. And I will get straight into it. Okay, my initial Big Sky 2025 preseason poll for the 2025 football season. Obviously, obviously the Big Sky had 5 playoff teams in 2025, so those are going to be the top 5 teams, obviously. And I don't know, with a preseason poll, whether you're looking at the last season's data, whether you're looking at what teams are bringing back, I think you got to do both. Obviously, look at what they did last season, but also look at what recruits teams have brought in. And this will actually relate to the Hero Sports poll. I'll bring that up. But with my top 25 preseason poll, where do I have the teams ranked? First, we have Montana State. Obviously, they went to the national championship. Obviously, they're the returning, defending Big Sky champions. You have to beat the champ to pass the champ. So until they're beaten, they are going to be number 1. And I'm just telling you right now, until somebody beats Montana State, unless they just look absolutely horrible and they're just getting by, Montana State is going to be the number 1 team in the Big Sky until somebody beats the champ. To be the champ, you got to beat the champ. At number 2, I have UC Davis. Obviously, they lost in the quarterfinals to South Dakota. They lost quite a bit of talent. If you look at Land Larson alone, that is a tremendous amount of production on their team that they're losing. But they were a really good squad. They have a really good coach. And I think they returned some good talent, at the receiver position. On the defensive position, the Connors brothers, as well as Batu at the receiver position. They have some decent talent returning. So, number 2 for UC Davis. They did lose their starting quarterback. We'll be interested to see what they do at that position. I haven't really seen much transfer data for them in terms of transfer portal guys being brought in. So, that must mean they're trying to develop somebody from within. We will see how that goes. At number 3, I have Idaho. Obviously, Idaho lost a ton this offseason as well. A ton of their players transferred after the exit of Coach Eck, as well as his son, along with a ton of other defensive linemen. Keyshawn James, newbie, they lost a D tackle. They lost some offensive pieces as well. Their freshman running back, Deshaun Buchanan, also left. But Idaho at number 3, they bring in Coach Ford from Oregon State, their former running backs coach at Oregon State. He comes to Idaho. We will see what he is able to do in the black and gold. I think they're black and gold, yellow, whatever you want to call it. We'll see what Idaho's able to do, but I got them at number 3. At number 4, I have Montana. Obviously, Montana was a playoff team. They lost in the quarterfinals to, was it the quarterfinals or was it the second round? They beat Tennessee State in the first round, and then they lost to South Dakota State in the second round. Am I correct? I'd have to look it up to know if I'm 100% correct. Either way, Montana lost in the playoffs to South Dakota State. I can't remember if that was, I think that was the second round, if I'm not mistaken. They lost in the second round to South Dakota State. In terms of talent for Montana, they return one of their quarterbacks that played significant snaps in Kali Ayat. They also brought in a transfer guy, and they got some younger guys. At the running back position, they returned the running back. They lost the running back. Where Montana is getting hit a lot is at the receiver position. Offensive line, they lost some pieces as well. Defensively, Montana lost some guys to transfer portal and to, obviously, graduation. So it'll be interesting to see what Montana is able to do this year. Obviously, they've hit the portal pretty hard. And obviously, I feel like they've been able to retool their roster decently, but you never really know until you see them on the field. And that's not even going to happen until week 2 of the season. So we will see what Montana looks like. But I got them at number 4 in my poll. And then at number 5, that last 2024 playoff team is NAU. I think NAU, I know I said this last offseason, and the more I've got into the data, the more I've gotten to the rosters, the more I've started to investigate what these teams are bringing back and what, NAU is the only team bringing back their quarterback in the conference. If you want to count Montana, sure, Montana's bringing back a quarterback that played last year. Many would say that Fife was the better quarterback statistically, and just by the eye test, Fife was playing better. But Kali Ayat did play and start games last year, so Montana bringing back their starting quarterback. NAU bringing back their starting quarterback. NAU is a dark horse for me in the Big Sky Conference. They bring back another really good running back. They bring back some decently good defensive pieces and offensive pieces. One thing they are losing is their All-American, All-World safety in Alex McLaughlin. He is now at Washington, I believe. Either Washington or Arizona. I believe he transferred to Washington. He got a ton of offers, some good Pac-12, I guess they're Big Ten offers now. But I think NAU is a dark horse. They're 5th on my preseason poll currently. At number 6, this may be a surprise based on how they finished last season, but if you've been paying attention at all throughout this offseason, I think this is fair. Now, how much weight do we give this? Because this isn't going to be a team that's going to be playoff eligible, but we still can judge them based on their Big Sky standing, how they're doing within Big Sky play. Sac State. Obviously, if I'm talking about them leaving the conference, it's Sac State. I have a lot of high hopes for Sac State this year. Somebody close to me has told me that, they think I value talent more than other things when looking at off-season success, when looking at projecting a team for success. I really value the talent. Like, who do you have on your roster? Who is in the building? What is your offensive talent? What is your defensive talent? What are the players that are going to play on special teams? I mean, that's something I value in terms of evaluating the team. Sac State has brought in a ton of talent this offseason. I have high hopes for them. Obviously, if their waiver gets approved for for FBS as an FBS independent, they won't be playoff eligible, but they will still be playing their Big Sky schedule. And I haven't been able to find clarity on if Sac State will be will be Big Sky championship eligible or not had their waiver gone through. But they're 6th on my list, and I think they could rise pretty soon throughout the season. We'll see how that roster meshes. Obviously, that's what it's all about, is meshing and being able to become a cohesive unit. But we will see. At number 7, I got Idaho State. They returned their quarterback. They did redshirt Jordan Cook last year, who was probably the better quarterback in 2023. Who's probably their best quarterback in 2023. He was a young guy. I don't 100% know why they redshirted him in 2024. Maybe he got hurt early on in the season. Maybe they were just trying to save his year. I'm not so sure. But Idaho State, I think 7 is fair to have them at 7. Maybe they could be at 6 over Sac State. But also, this is a preseason poll, so we're not going to put too much weight into it. Anyway, I'm at number 8. I got Eastern Washington. Obviously, they lost their all-world receiver, Efton Chisholm. He's now with the Patriots. But they also lost their quarterback, Kakoa Visperis, probably the most accurate quarterback in the Big Sky last year. Over the last 2 seasons, he's probably been the most accurate quarterback. And if you're looking at FCS statistics, he's probably been top 5 in accuracy over the last 2 seasons. He is now at Tennessee Tech, if I'm not mistaken. Not so sure why he would go. Well, I mean, maybe. I get it. I get it. Eastern Washington wasn't very competitive last year, and it wasn't even because of their offense. Eastern Washington had an extremely successful offense in 2024. It was just their defense. They couldn't really string together stops. They couldn't get off the field when they needed to, and they lost to Drake early on in the season because of defense. They gave up points at the end. It just was not a good situation for them. They bring back Jared Taylor. They lost one of their athletes to Montana, to the transfer portal. I'm blanking on his name right now. I'm absolutely blanking on his name right now. Somebody in the comments maybe let me know. But Eastern Washington, 8 is fair where they're at in the preseason poll. Definitely especially based on what they did last year. At number 9, you got Portland State. They also lose some talent. Dante Sachere to the key on that list. But they do bring back a running back. That I think could be one of the better in the Big Sky Conference. Depending on how their offensive line is, Portland State has shown to be one of the better rushing teams in the Big Sky Conference over the last few seasons. We'll see how that carries over. But they bring back at least one of their running backs that got decent snaps last year. At number 10, we got Weber State. At number 11, not going to say too much about Weber State. They lose Richie Munoz, also to Tennessee Tech. So him and Kakoa Visper is going to battle it out over there. I didn't see if either of those guys entered the spring transfer portal window, but Weber State lost their starting quarterback, Richie Munoz, somebody who came into Missoula and beat the Grizzlies on their home turf when they hadn't lost at home, I think, in a minute. At least they didn't lose in 2023. I can't remember. In 2022, they definitely lost at home in 2022. At number 11, you got Cal Poly. At number 12, you got Northern Colorado. So you guys let me know what you guys think about my Big Sky preseason poll. At number 1, I got MSU. At number 2, I got UC Davis. At number 3, I got Idaho. At number 4, I got Montana. At 5, I got NAU. At 6, I got Sac State. At 7, I have Idaho State. At 8, I got Eastern Washington. At 9, I got Portland State. At 10, I got Weber State. At 11, I have Cal Poly, and at 12, I have Northern Colorado. You guys let me know what you guys think about my Big Sky, my not even early, it's June, so we're coming up on the season. We're coming up on the Big Sky Media Day very, very soon. But you guys let me know what you guys think of my Big Sky 2025 preseason poll, and we will move on to the next topic. What if QB proficiency isn't as important as we want to believe in the Big Sky? So the reason this question was posed to me is because obviously for over the last couple of months, I've been really looking at quarterback success in the Big Sky, looking at why Big Sky teams haven't been successful in winning a national championship, looking at, all the things, all the factors that make up a national championship squad. I thought Montana State had the recipe last year. They weren't able to get it done. Coaching, they made, I don't even want to put it on Vegan. I think Vegan's a great coach, but there were some decisions that were made in that game that might have cost them a national championship. Now, obviously, they still had an opportunity to win, and they didn't make the plays that needed to be made in the end. Also, I don't want to discredit that North Dakota State squad. That was a very, very good squad, a very veteran quarterback who knew how to win when the moment got the tightest, and one of the best receivers in the country as well. So we're not going to discount anybody, but the question being posed is, I've been putting a lot of weight into having a good quarterback in order to win a national championship at the FCS level. Now, if you look at the quarterbacks that have been successful in winning national championships, obviously they throw the ball well, they take care of the ball, they're good leaders, all that good stuff. Have those quarterbacks necessarily always been the best quarterbacks in their conference? I don't know. I didn't look at all the historical data from conferences. My guess would say that those quarterbacks usually are towards the top of their conference if they're winning a national championship. But the question is, in other words, what if QB proficiency isn't as important as we want to believe in the Big Sky? And along with that, in other words, how often has the best QB in the league also been on the best team? So I took the last 8 seasons outside of the 2020 COVID season. So we got 2024 all the way to 2016. Take out that 2020 COVID season. 8 seasons total. We're looking at the best QB in the conference and where that conference and where that team ranked. Now, obviously, best QB, I'm basing it off of statistics. So passing yards, the leader, the passing yards leader, to me, is deemed as the best quarterback in the conference. Now, obviously, you can take touchdown to interception ratio. You can take quarterback rating. You can take average passing yards per game, and that's how they're ranked when you look at the Big Sky, web. When you go to the Big Sky Conference website and they're ranking the quarterbacks like on passing, they rank them based on yards per game. So whatever quarterback averaged the most yards per game is going to be at the top. I had to filter it to passing yards. Now, obviously, this could be objective because a quarterback could lead in passing yards and still objectively not be the best quarterback in the conference. Either way, we're going to be looking at quarterbacks. Who had the best season? Now, obviously, in 2024, I think it was aberration. Tommy Mellott obviously was never going to lead the conference in passing yards, but I think objectively, he was the best quarterback in the conference. Now, Miles Hastings led the conference in passing yards. He was on the second best team in the conference. So 2024, Tommy Mellott, they were the conference champs. I think, in other words, how often has the best QB in the league also been on the best team? In 2024, the best QB in the league. If you want to say Miles Hastings was the best pure quarterback in the league, Tommy Mellott is a big running quarterback. He can pass the ball. He really improved on his passing in 2024, so I don't want to discount that. But if you want to say Miles Hastings was the best quarterback in the league, he was on the second best team in the conference. So to that question, how often has the best QB in the league been on the best team? If you say the best QB in the league in 2024, which I would say the best QB in the league was Tommy Mellott, he was on the best team in the conference. If you say it's Miles Hastings, he was not on the best team in the conference. He was on the second best team in the conference. But even in this same argument, the two best quarterbacks in the league were on the top two teams in the conference. So one for the best QB in the league being on the best team in the conference. In 2023, Giovanni McCoy statistically was the best quarterback in the league based on passing yards. I think a lot of people would say Giovanni McCoy was the best quarterback in the league in 2023 also. I don't think that's disputable. They were a quarterfinal team in 2024 or 2023. Giovanni McCoy was objectively the best quarterback in the league. They were the second best team in the conference. Montana won. Idaho was runner-ups in the conference. So just right there, the best quarterback in the league was not on the best team in the conference. In 2022, Miles Hastings statistically was the best quarterback in the league at UC Davis. They finished 5th in the conference. So once again, the best quarterback in the league was not on the best team in the league. In 2022, the team that won the conference was Montana State. I also believe they shared that conference title with Sac State, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong about that, but Montana State certainly was the conference champs in 2022. So just like that, the best quarterback in the league, not on the best team in the league. In 2021, one of the most prolific quarterbacks we've ever seen in Big Sky Conference history, Eric Berrier, threw for 5,000 yards in 2021. Absolutely ridiculous. The receiving core, Andrew Boston, Talolo Limu Jones, a young Efton Chisholm. They had another one there. I can't remember his name, but they had a receiving core. They've always had a receiving core. They've always had offense. They were the third best team in the conference. In 2021, Sac State won the conference in 2021. Eric Berrier obviously was not on the best team in the conference. Although being the best quarterback in the league. So far, we're at a 3-1 advantage for the best quarterback in the league not being on the best team in the league. Just giving validity to this point that, how often has the best QB in the league also been on the best team in the league? Doesn't seem like it's very often. Let's go down to 2019. Case Cookus statistically was the best quarterback in the conference. They were almost last in conference play. They were 9th in the conference in 2019. So the best quarterback in the league being on almost one of the most bottom feeder teams in the league. And if you know anything about Case Cookus, he is still playing football today. He plays in the UFL. He is on the Birmingham Stallions right now, who are currently, today is Sunday. They're going to play in the conference championship today. I don't know if Case Cookus is their starting quarterback or not, but I do believe he is still in the league and he is still playing football at a high level professionally. So Case Cookus, best quarterback in the league in 2019. He was not on the best team in the league in 2019. Now, I'm trying to think about some of the quarterbacks in 2019. Dalton Snead at Montana. You had the Sac State quarterback. I believe it was Kevin at that time. I played with him in the USFL, but I think it was Kevin. It might have been, they might have had Mayer at UC Davis as well. So there were some really good quarterbacks in the league in 2019. Mayer might have been 2018, though, at UC Davis. But there were some good quarterbacks in the league in 2019. Case Cookus statistically was at the top. That's why I put him on here. And that's why I also said it can be objective because, just because statistically a quarterback, like they might have, They were ninth in the conference. Case Cookins was at the top of the conference standings in terms of passing yards. That might have only been the case because they were in a bunch of losing games. They're ninth in the conference. Obviously, they're going to be down a ton. Obviously, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Obviously, he's going to lead the conference in passing yards. This point can read true for the 2018 as well. That's why you need to take these statistics with a grain of salt. 2018, I would probably say the best quarterback in the league was either, Dalton Snead or I can't even remember 2018. Eric Berrier was a young quarterback as well, was a young freshman. So 2018 but either way, 2018 statistically, Tanner Guler was the best quarterback in the league at Idaho State. They were fifth in the conference. Now I do think it holds some weight that Tanner Guler was fifth in the conference. The Idaho State finished fifth in the conference in 2018. I feel like that's a pretty decent finish for them. Idaho State is almost always near the bottom of the Big Sky Conference. I think it shows something that Idaho State is towards the middle to above middle in the conference, and they have a decently good quarterback. Now, obviously, those stats could be based on because they were in a lot of losing games, but I think they had a really good offense that year. But Tanner Guler in 2018, they weren't on the best team in the conference. And then 2017, Gabe Gubrud at Eastern Washington. I think everybody would agree that he was the best when he was playing in the Big Sky Conference. He was the best quarterback in the Big Sky Conference. 2017, Gabe Gubrud. They were third in the conference. So, once again, best quarterback in the league, not on the best team in the conference. Lastly, 2016, Gabe Gubrud. 2 years in a row, best quarterback statistically in the conference. They were conference champs. So, the best, and I believe 2016, they went to like the semifinals. I think they lost to Youngstown State. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost certain that they lost to Youngstown State in that playoff in 2016. They still had, Cooper Kupp that year. And I believe they had, he's on the Patriots now. You guys can remind me. Kendrick Bourne. Either way, so 2 out of the 8 seasons we looked at, the best quarterback in the league was on the best team in the league. The other seasons, the best quarterback in the league was not on the best team in the league. So I don't know. What are we trying to do with this data? What does this data mean? Well, it kind of discounts my point of you need a really good quarterback in order to have a national championship. I don't think it 100% discounts my point, but I think it gives more validity to the fact that you need a good team around a quarterback. You need a good serviceable quarterback. You need a good quarterback who can make the plays when the plays need to be made. But that is not all. The point this person was trying to make is that is not all that goes into building a national championship contender. You need a really, really good defense. You need good play in the trenches. You need a good head coach. I mean, you need all the pieces to come together to win a national championship. It's not just about the quarterback. And even in conference play, winning the conference is not about having the best quarterback. Just shown here, statistically, the top quarterbacks in the conference are not always the best, the team winning the conference. I mean, if you want to say Giovanni McCoy was the best quarterback in the conference in 2023, they finished second in the conference. Part of that may be because they didn't have the greatest defense. Their defensive line might not have been great. I mean, there's a whole host of things that can go into teams not winning, and it's not always just on the quarterback. But I think it holds a lot of weight. But, you can grab whatever you want to grab from this data. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. I will move on. Okay, Sam Herder and Hero Sports dropped their 2025 FCS preseason top 25 media poll. And I wanted to look at it, so I'm not going to look at it too extensively. Actually, let me pull this back up. We're going to detach this right here. Doing a little, oh shoot. I'm dumb, guys. Doing a little gymnastics over here with what I got. Okay, here we go. So I'm looking at it right now, and I took some notes on it, actually. 3 Big Sky teams in the top 10. Those 3 teams are Montana State, Montana tied at 7 with Illinois State, and then you got Idaho at number 10. And then you have 6 in the top 25. So the other 3 teams in the top 25 are UC Davis at 11. You got Sacramento State. Interesting that Sacramento State's in there because will Sacramento State be playoff eligible? I think it's interesting putting some of these teams in these rankings because if they're not playoff eligible, I don't know. I think the preseason is different because you just want to see where, you'd like to get a visual of where a lot of people view all these teams being ranked during the preseason. Obviously, if they're going to be playoff eligible, matters little to this preseason ranking, but I think it still holds weight. So, 6 in the top 25. Those other 3, UC Davis, Sacramento State, and then you got NAU, I believe. NAU at 19. Big Sky has the most, I believe the Big Sky had the most teams in the top 25 with 6. the MVFC had 5 teams in the top 25. They had 4 in the top 10. NDSU, obviously the first place team. South Dakota State and South Dakota at 3 and 4. And you had Illinois State at 7, tied with Montana. So 4 in the top 25. I don't think anybody would dispute that. I would say, based on them having 5 in the top 25, 4 of those being in the top 10, I lean towards saying the MVFC is top heavy. I don't think anybody really would dispute that. You got NDSU as the number 1 team. SDSU has been up there. South Dakota has been up there. And then Illinois State hangs around in that top 10. Southern Illinois is that other team in the top 25. They're, I believe, in between the top. They're at 16. So between 15 and 25. Southern Illinois is usually a team that's up there in the MVFC, but then if you look at the rest of the MVFC, it really, really falls off. I think that's why you could say collectively the best conference in FCS football is the Big Sky Conference, because it seems like they have the most, I don't want to say parity. It does seem a little, I don't know if I would say parity. It does seem a little bit like parity. The last couple of years, they've had different conference champs. 2022 was Montana State, 2023 was Montana, 2024 was Montana State. 2021 was Sac State, so a little bit of parity in there. Not really though, because the bottom teams never win anything. But I do think the MVFC is a little bit top heavy. That's what I did collect from this top 25. 4 teams in the top 10. You only have 1 in the rest of the top 25 outside of the top 10. Opposed to the Big Sky, you got 3 teams in the top 10, 6 in the top 25. 3 of those teams fall outside of the top 25, and they're not evenly, but I guess UC Davis is right outside of the top 10 at 11, so I don't know what I'm really talking about. I do know what I'm talking about, but the MVFC is certainly top heavy. You look at some of the other teams in that conference, like Indiana State, like North Dakota. Some of the teams fall near the average at best in the FCS, towards the bottom. If you want to put some of those teams like Indiana State, they used to have Western Illinois. I can't remember. I'm blanking on. So Youngstown State was another team in that conference. They weren't terrible, but I like the FCS top 20-25 poll. Looking at the top 10, you got Rhode Island at 9. I'm surprised to see Rhode Island there. Obviously, they were a good team last year, but, they kind of got exposed a little bit in the playoffs. Not really exposed because a lot of people didn't think too highly of them. At number 6 on this preseason top 25, you have Tarleton State. That is a team that I would love to keep my eyes closely locked onto. Because I think very highly of that UAC conference. I know, literally take me back this time last year, I was saying the UAC is trash. They're never going to be anything. And now a year later, I'm saying I have respect for the UAC. But that's what happens when you play the games and you play successfully. You show that you are a serviceable conference. You show that you put good ball on the field. And that's what they did in the UAC last year. So I got a ton of respect for them. I gained a ton of respect for them last year. Out of the UAC conference, you got Tarleton State in here. You have... Sometimes I go blank on who is in the UAC. You got Abilene Christian at number 24. I think there's only 2 United Athletic Conference teams on here. Tarleton State, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So 2 UAC teams on here. Is Stephen F. Austin in UAC? Stephen F. Austin is in the Southland. Yeah, because Sam Vidlak was the Southland Newcomer of the Year. So Abilene Christian and Tarleton State, both playoff teams, both got first-round playoff victories in 2024. No surprise to see them on here. Tarleton State could be a dark horse out of the UAC. Could be a dark horse for the in the playoffs. Who knows? I think I don't know. It's hard to tell right now. I would love to. Man, I would love to see some of these guys' spring practices, love to see some of their spring games. But other teams receiving votes, Richmond, Chattanooga, East Tennessee State, North Dakota, Southern Utah. Surprised to see North Dakota on there. Southern Utah, another UAC team, North Carolina Central, and UT Martin. You guys let me know what you guys think about some of these teams in the top 25. What do you guys think about me saying that the MVFC is top heavy? Do you guys agree? What do you guys think about the Big Sky having 3 teams in the top 10, 6 teams in the top 25? You guys let me know down below, and I will move on. Okay, Villanova is leaving the CAA for the Patriot League. The move will be effective in 2026 per Pete Thamel. So... Sam Herder says, and there it is. Villanova follows Richmond and William & Mary from CAA football to the Patriot. Another tough blow to the CAA and a gain for the Patriot. So my question is, what is the Patriot saying to these teams to get them to leave the CAA? Obviously, the CAA has been losing its power over the last few years. Sam Herder tweeted, look at the CAA movement since 2021. James Madison gone. Delaware gone. 2 teams that have won I don't know if Delaware. I believe Delaware's won a national championship in the past. Yeah, they did because they won it with the guy who won it with Sam Houston State. Delaware, a former national championship winning team. James Madison, a former national championship winning team. Richmond, I believe Richmond has won a national championship against Montana, if I'm not mistaken. William and Mary, can't remember. Villanova, I believe Villanova against Montana has won a national championship. So 5 teams since 2021 have left the CAA. A lot of teams, and in my opinion, Villanova gave them a lot of validity in the CAA. Villanova was a perennial playoff team, a perennial team that was going to compete for that CAA championship. James Madison, obviously a blue blood out of that CAA. Delaware, I would consider maybe a blue blood potentially. And then Richmond and William and Mary, the additions they have made, and that's what really hurts the CAA, is not that they're losing teams, but it's that they're not getting even trades. You lose James Madison, Delaware, Richmond, William and Mary, and Villanova. You add Bryant, Campbell, Hampton, Monmouth, North Carolina A&T. Out of all those teams, I would say North Carolina A&T and Monmouth are the greatest additions. Monmouth came from that Big South Conference, and I think it was not too soon in 2021. In 2019, Monmouth had won that Big South Conference with that quarterback Benji Bahar. Kenji, it might have been Kenji Bahar. They won that Big South Conference in 2019. To see them in the CAA, I think they've done decently well. I don't think they've been one of the top teams in the conference, but I don't think they've been completely terrible either. But I mean, you just look at the teams that the CAA is losing and the teams that they're adding. It's just not a fair trade. It just dampens the I'm not finding the right words in my brain right now. It just hurts the strength of the conference. It hurts the strength of the conference. I mean, when you add these weaker teams into the conference, Bryant, I believe, was coming from that NEC conference, if I'm not mistaken. The conference just doesn't look very strong. And then compound that with the fact that you had the top team in the conference last year go to war with, I think it was Central Connecticut. They went to war with Central Connecticut in the playoffs, won that game by 4. Maybe it was 21-17. And then they get beat up by a good Mercer team in that next round of the playoffs. Not to say that they're completely terrible and they completely crap the bed out there, but it just doesn't look great when the number one team, were like top 5 basically all season, didn't play a super strong schedule. When they did play a tough team in Delaware, they lost, and then they get to the playoffs, barely skate by an NEC team in Central Connecticut, and then they get into the game against Mercer, and they just look like they finally met their match from a different conference. So the conference looks weak right now. The Patriot League on the other end of things, I don't know too much about the Patriot League. Let me look up the Patriot League standings. League standings 2024. Looking at the Patriot League standings in 2024. Oh, they pulled up the basketball standings. Look at the Patriot League football standings. So Lehigh won the conference in 2024. They finished with a 9-4 record, 5-1 in conference. Holy Cross was also, I think they shared that conference title in the Patriot League. Holy Cross was 5-1 in conference play, 6-6 in overall. Bucknell was 6-6, 4-2 in conference play. Lafayette was 2-4 in conference play, 6-6 overall. Georgetown was 2-4 in conference play, 5-6 overall. So with those new additions to the Patriot League coming very soon, you have Villanova going to be going to the Patriot League. You have Richmond going to be going to the Patriot League, and you have William and Mary going to the Patriot League. I think Villanova is going to be a perennial winner in that Patriot League conference. They're going to be a perennial conference champion. They're going to be a perennial high seed in the playoffs. They've been a high seed out of the CAA in the playoffs, but I think I want to know what the TV deal in the Patriot League looks like, what the money being divvied out to these to these schools in the conference looks like. Like, what does all that look like? Because obviously the Patriot League is providing something for these teams over what the CAA is already providing them. Now, if you want to look at competitive balance, it doesn't seem like the CAA is going to be a very competitive conference going forward. Now, currently, I valued them as maybe the 3rd best conference. It's really seeming like the SoCon is emerging, maybe even the UAC as the 3rd best team in the Big Sky Conference, or the third best conference in FCS football. We will see what that looks like going forward. But yeah, I mean, another thing that Sam Herder said in his post, which is basically something that I was echoing throughout my talk. You can't replace a school like JMU, but CAA members' decision to backfill in quantity made other teams evaluate if they wanted to remain in a watered-down CAA. Last year, Bryant went 0-8 in CAA play. Campbell went 1-7. Hampton went 2-6. Monmouth was 4-4, and NCAA went 0-8. basically echoing what I said. You can't replace blue bloods like James Madison, Delaware, Villanova with teams like Bryant, Campbell, and Hampton. It just doesn't make sense. And maybe that is the decision that these football schools are making. Maybe Villanova, Richmond, William and Mary are making the decision that we are, as a conference, are becoming watered down. People aren't giving us the respect that we deserve. We need to go to a conference. Now, if you look at the Patriot League isn't very competitive either. In conference play, they're very competitive, but in the now they're probably playing a lot of non-conference games against FBS opponents, so we'd have to look at their schedule to see that. But 6-6, 3 500 teams. They only had one team in the Patriot League finish the season over 500, and that was Lehigh, their playoff team, and they lost in the second round of the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, to Idaho, I believe. 9-4 though. But now you add Villanova to that. Now you add Richmond to that. Now you add William and Mary to that. I believe those are going to be the top teams in the Patriot League going forward. Lafayette obviously was the conference champ in 2023. They were supposed to. I thought they were going to be good. They returned their quarterback. They returned their starting running back, Jamar Curtis. They weren't very great in 2024. You guys let me know what you guys think about the Patriot League. What do you guys think about the CAA? Do you guys think the CAA is watered down? Do you guys think they're becoming an afterthought in terms of top conferences in FCS football? I would say they are becoming an afterthought. They don't really have any of the historic teams that have made them what they are historically. So we will see. You guys let me know in the comments down below, and I will move on. Okay. Judge Claudia Wilkin has officially approved the NCAA v. House settlement, passing a wave of new changes in college football that are going to completely revolutionize the sport. There's a new governance model in the sport called the College Sports Commission that has a CEO, Brian Seeley, I believe is his name. The former MLB executive is going to come in and be the CEO of the new College Sports Commission. The College Sports Commission is going to be tasked with governing NIL, governing revenue share payments, governing eligibility, governing everything that the NCAA basically used to govern. Now that's going to be the College Sports Commission. They have a new platform called NIL Go that is going to be tasked with third-party NIL deals. That's where their lane is. Deloitte, the company, is going to be tasked with deeming whether those deals are approved or denied based on metrics set aside by this College Sports Commission and Deloitte itself. Basically, these deals are going to be deemed approved or denied based on, fair market value. So they didn't say it in those words, but basically fair market value. Also, they're looking at, I think they actually did say fair market value, if I'm not mistaken. Also, they're going to be looking at the level of compensation. They're going to be looking at, what are the deliverables? Basically, you are paying this athlete for his name, image, and likeness, for his or her name, image, and likeness. What is this athlete going to do to earn this money through NIL? So are they posting as something on social media? Are they posting, are they doing a commercial for you guys? Are they doing some volunteer work? Also, does the payment that you guys are paying them line up with what other athletes in similar lanes are making? So fair market value. An athlete with 100,000 followers on Instagram is posting a post on Instagram for $500. Does that line up with what other athletes are making? So therefore, is it less than what other athletes are making? In that case, we need to go back to the negotiating table. I don't know if NIL Go would deny a deal because somebody is going to be making less. I think if they're really going to try to lean towards, if somebody is going to be making more. So say an athlete has 100,000 followers, they're getting paid $1 million for a social media post. That really doesn't line up with somebody who has 100,000 subscribers or followers on a social media platform. We are going to deny this deal. You guys can go back to the table. You guys have a certain amount of time to where you guys can amend this deal and bring it back. But currently that is denied. If you were to accept that deal, you will be deemed ineligible. So new policing going on. Sam Herder posted an unofficial list of the FCS schools he's seen over the few months publicly say they plan to opt in the House settlement. And I believe there will be a host of more. Sam Herder also said this. Many more will be next year. I know for sure there will be more next year that'll be opting in to the House settlement. So the entire CAA, except for William & Mary and UAlbany, have currently said that they are opting in. Davidson is opting in. Morgan State is opting in. Southern Illinois is opting in. Youngstown State is opting in. The two lone schools out of the Big Sky, Montana State and Sac State, will be opting in Tarleton State will be opting in. East Texas A&M, which is formerly East Texas Commerce, is opting in, and then Lamar will be opting in. Now, one thing I think you need to understand with this is opting into the house settlement does not 100% mean that you are going to be revenue sharing. Now, and also, the new house settlement set in roster limits. No more scholarship limits. It used to be 63 scholarships as FCS football, 85 scholarships at FBS football. Now it is roster limits. Teams must be below the 105 roster limit by the first date of the season. So what I was reading is it said that by the first game of the season, teams must be underneath the roster limit in order to be deemed eligible to play. So now teams can divvy out as many scholarships as they want, as many scholarships as they can, outside of conferences that have put a scholarship limit. The Big Sky maintained their 63 scholarship limit. That roster limit is still in, but schools can only offer a total of 63 scholarships. The reason for that is for competitive balance. These conferences are looking for a way to maintain their competitive balance as much as they possibly can, because with this new house settlement, there are some things that can make the competitive balance of conferences a little, uneven. If a school has a bunch of money, a school has a bunch of resources, they can have 105 rostered athletes, and 105 scholarship athletes if they so choose to. Or they can have 5 scholarship athletes if they so choose to. It doesn't matter. It's a roster limit. It's not a scholarship limit. Obviously, nobody would only divvy out 5 scholarships. You are not going to win any football games I don't want to say you're not, because who knows? Maybe a team full of walk-ons just wants it more. Who knows? I don't know, though. But teams going to be opting in. Montana State, Sac State. One thing I was saying along with my point, just because a team is opting into the house settlement does not mean that they have to share revenue, is what I was reading. When Montana State posted their news release about them opting into the house settlement, that was one thing that I took away from that, is that teams do not have to share revenue just because they are opting into the house settlement. There are a bunch of things that come along with the house settlement, and obviously revenue sharing has been the main topic, but that is not the only thing that is going to change. So first year, we will fill it out, see what these teams who are opting into the house settlement, see what it's going to bring, see what it's going to do for college football. Obviously, we'll see how the CAA looks. They're losing teams to the Patriot League, and we'll see what those teams going to the Patriot League end up doing. But, I think this is a good change. I'm happy that the settlement finally got approved. Hopefully there are some guardrails put into place like NIL Go that help with FCS football retaining their talent. And that's another thing that Sam Herder mentioned on social media about the house settlement. Ideally, this will prevent P4 schools and their collectives from offering $100,000 to FCS G5 starters to come to their schools and be depth players. Every NIL deal has to go through this clearinghouse. That's what Sam Herder said. And I just talked about NIL Go, the new clearinghouse, so I'm not going to go too much into that. But Sam makes a good point, and I hadn't even considered this, because so one thing I want to lay out also. I had been talking about this a lot. The house settlement, they want to get away from the collectives. They want this money coming from the athletic departments. They don't want the collectives. I don't think that's necessarily the point of the house settlement. The point of the house settlement, obviously, was to be able to pay athletes fairly, legally, but also to put in some guardrails that protect the NCAA from future litigation, but also pay back damages. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes into the house settlement that is in the nitty gritty. But one thing I think that's very important is this new NIL Go clearinghouse. Hopefully, with this new NIL Go clearinghouse, teams, schools, schools can't, I don't know how that's going to work, schools offering money, but, these these collectives now will have to offer the money to an athlete through the clearinghouse. So what does that look like? Such and such booster at, let's say Wisconsin, for example. Wisconsin signed an Idaho transfer this past offseason. Say they wanted to get Mark Hamper. They offer him, the collective wants to offer him $100,000 to come play for their school. They have to submit that deal through NIL Go in order for it even to be an approved or non-approved deal. Now, I did see something online of somebody talking about, this is just going to make more backdoor deals happen. This is just going to be more people doing deals behind the scenes. And obviously, we'll have to see how this is going to be policed because it's not a perfect system. It's going to be new. I'm sure there's going to still be some wild, wild west tendencies of this new landscape. But, changes isn't immediate. Changes take time. And this is going to be another one of those things. But say we want him to come to Wisconsin. We offer him $100,000. We have to put that deal through NIL Go. First off, we have to deem if that's a fair market value deal. We have to deem, what is the deliverables he's going to be giving. So you're paying him $100,000. How is he relating to the Wisconsin fan base? Now obviously the kid can, if he wants to transfer somewhere, he can look at what players are making in the rev share at that school and see if it makes sense for him. I'll be making this in rev share if I go to this school. Now obviously that school has to want you. They have to want to put you on scholarship or whatever that looks like. But the NIL Go helps to keep from the collectives poaching the players. So the collectives can't just offer a kid $100,000 in NIL Go because I have no relation to the Wisconsin region. I have no NIL value in Wisconsin. Nothing about my standing as an athlete makes me a valuable commodity in Wisconsin currently. Now, if I go there for a year and I play and I ball out, obviously Wisconsin businesses want to do NIL deals with me. But currently, as an athlete in the Big Sky Conference, I have no appeal to Wisconsin businesses. Why would they offer me $100,000? Obviously, because they want my talents as a football player. I think that's why we are moving into the rev share. But also, so in offering a kid a revenue share contract, offering a contract within the bounds of revenue sharing, that kid must be in the portal to receive offers from schools. So I think what Sam Herder's trying to get at is the NIL Go clearinghouse helps from collectives offering guys contracts. It helps from collectives being the main bargaining chip. If a player is going to enter into the portal, they are going to enter. Now, obviously, people are still going to find a way to get a hold of athletes. I mean, people are going to find a way to break the rules. That's just a fact of the matter. That's just the way the world is, unfortunately. With the new NIL Go clearinghouse, or what am I even saying? These collectives now, this helps keep these collectives from contacting these players. Now, obviously, these players are still going to be getting contacted from these collectives and from these agents and all that stuff. But going forward, a player has to now enter into the portal before they can receive rev share contracts from other schools. Now, with the third-party deals, those have to be submitted. So if it's coming from a collective, if it's coming from a business entity, if it's coming from anybody outside of the athletic department, that has to be submitted in NIL Go. So not only if you submitted an NIL Go for the athlete, now is the NIL Go, can any deal, so say if Johnny has an NIL deal offer from such and such school, can I, as the athletic director, can I, as the football coach, see that? Because the reason I ask that is if my athlete is getting an $100,000 NIL Go deal from such and such school, I would like to know that. Now, I don't know all the legalities of that, but as a coach, as an athletic director, I would want to know if my player is being poached. That's the whole tampering point. If my player enters the portal, I can't control who he's getting contacted by. But if he is still in the revenue share language, if he's still under contract with us in the NCAA language, if he's still signed to our school, I want to know when and how he's going to start being contacted, and if he's being contacted. If he enters the portal, sure, he's going to start to get contacted. He's not even a part of our team anymore. But if he's still on our team, I want to know who's trying to reach out to him, who wants him, all that stuff. So I agree with Sam Herder. The NIL Go, hopefully it helps stop the poaching of players from the FCS, because that is such a big problem that we've seen in modern college football. I would love to see a lot of these teams be able to retain more of their talent. Zach McKinnell actually just posted an article looking at some PFF data of returning talent. So he was looking at analyzing talent that's returning to the FCS in 2025 from 2024 in the conferences that return the least, or he was just looking at how much talent did each conference return. The MVFC was at the bottom. The SoCon was near the bottom. The Big Sky was near the bottom. Or they had nearly the biggest jumps in talent from 2024 coming into 2025. The MVFC was absolutely at the bottom. They have the least amount of talent returning. No surprise there. They are the best conference. They would be returning the least amount of talent in the 2025 season. But that's a good article. I want you guys to, if you guys have some time, go read that. Zach McKinnell does an amazing job covering FCS football. Okay, along with that, the D1 Board of Directors conditionally approves House settlement-related rule changes. So Power 4 football programs will have roughly $13 to $60 million to spend on rosters for the 2025 season. Many schools have front-loaded contracts ahead of the settlement's approval, taking advantage of contracts not being vetted by newly formed NIL clearinghouse. That's NIL Go. This settlement also imposes new restrictions on college sports. All NIL clearinghouse will be established. All NIL clearinghouse, an NIL clearinghouse, I don't know what I'm reading. An NIL clearinghouse will be established titled NIL Go and run through Deloitte. All third-party NIL deals of $600 or more must be approved by the clearinghouse. If not approved, the settlement says a new third-party arbiter could deem athletes ineligible or result in a school being fined. In a gathering of the ACC spring meetings last week, Deloitte officials reportedly shared that 70% of past deals from NIL collectives would have been denied, while 90% of past deals from public companies would have been approved. The reason I think for that is because most of these deals from these collectives have just been, we'll pay you this to come to our school. There's no really deliverables. There's no really NIL aspect of it. It's just pay for play. So I think that's why 70% of those deals would have been denied. Speaking with sources on Friday, On3 has learned that multiple schools are sending over rev sharing contracts, so deals are getting signed as soon as midnight. So this went through Friday night. Claudia Wilkin approved the deal, the settlement on Friday night, and a ton of NIL deals, a ton of rev share deals have already been sent to a lot of athletes out here. So a ton of athletes that have already signed rev share contracts. I believe those contracts can begin to be paid out July 5th is what I was reading. But this is absolutely crazy. Many across college sports have expressed doubt that the settlement will be able to halt third-party NIL collective payments. Sources expect lawsuits surrounding Title IX, the rev sharing salary cap, and the newly founded NIL clearinghouse to be filed. So with that litigation, I had an article in here a couple of weeks ago of Tennessee is one of the states that, so this was a topic that I had to talk about a couple of weeks ago. I never got to it, but will state laws derail the NCAA house settlement from taking place? Tennessee now has the most athlete-friendly NIL law. It appears to prohibit all of the house settlements limits on NIL comp, salary cap, collective restrictions, etc., unless they are part of a federal law, valid court order, or determined to be exempt from antitrust law. Several states have passed NIL laws that contradicts the house settlement terms. Tennessee's law appears to be the most contradictory. There are at least 9 states with laws, by the way, that permit schools to directly pay athletes right now if they wish. So basically, the house settlement is supposed to bring in this new wave of changes in college football that could help, to stop the NCAA from getting sued, from getting lawsuits posed against the NCAA, but also, to bring in these new changes, new guardrails for the new landscape that we're living in. There have been lawsuits levied against, or there have been laws put into place that kind of contradict the house settlement. A lot of these laws surrounding Title IX, basically a lot of the money being paid out in the new house settlement is going to be geared towards football, basketball, men's and women's basketball, and football. A lower percentage is going to be geared towards the is it Olympic sports? Yes, the Olympic sports, non-Olympic sports. I don't know what they call them. The Olympic sports like track, volleyball, soccer, all that good stuff. Those are going to be getting a less, like 13 to 16 million from most schools in the Power 4 being paid out of that 20.5 million in rev share. That's absolutely crazy. A lot of these states don't love that there's a rev sharing cap. We should be able to pay as much as we want, and there shouldn't be a cap on the money we can share. But also Title IX. Why is football getting all this money, basketball getting all this money, but volleyball is bringing in more money than our football program at this school? I don't think that's the case at a lot of schools, but at some schools, volleyball, it does really well, and girls and men's and women's basketball does really well in some schools as well. Schools hope to circumvent that with NIL payments, which will have to. Schools will be operating with roughly a 20.5 million rev share salary cap in year 1. For football, that's expected to be 13 to 16 million. Schools hope to circumvent that with NIL payments, which will have to be put through NIL Go Clearinghouse. Expect lawsuits, says Pete Nakos of On3. So basically, the new rev share payments are coming from the school. That is not a third party. That is the school. That is how they want it to be done. The school is going to handle paying out this money. The coaches, the athletic director, the GMs, they are going to decide what player is making what, how much they're getting, and that's a whole new lane in college athletics in itself. NIL is not going away. The NIL deals just must be sent through the NIL Go Clearinghouse managed by Deloitte. Basically, is it a fair market deal? What are the deliverables? How are they going to be paid this money? All that good stuff. What is the amount? All that good stuff. That is going to be a way to circumvent the cap, the NIL cap, the rev share cap. we can only pay this athlete this much, but he's getting, but he's asking for this much. If he doesn't get this much, he's going to go to this school where he's getting offered this much. Basically, the NIL is going to be able to match. Say I'm making $1 million as a quarterback at Alabama. I'm making $1 million in rev share from this school. I don't know if you can pay anybody $1 million in rev share. You only got 13 to 16 million to share with the whole squad. Maybe your quarterback can make $1 million. As a quarterback at Alabama, I'm making $1 million. But I want $3 million. The quarterback at such and such is getting $3 million. I want $3 million for the season. So, and to give me more, they're gonna give me $2 million in NIL deals that have to be cleared through NIL Go. Now that is the challenge: is this deal going to be approved through NIL Go? Is it going to be deemed fair market value? Is it going to be deemed is it going to pass all the checks and balances of the NIL Go clearinghouse? We will see, but I do like the NIL Go concept. I do like I do like the checks and balances aspect of it. I like how it's going to keep people honest. I think we're moving in the right direction of getting college football on the right page. We're not necessarily there yet, but we are getting there. We will see where it goes. You guys let me know what you guys think about some of these new NIL Go clearinghouse changes. What do you guys think about some of the teams that have currently, the FCS teams that have opted into the house settlement? What do you guys think this is going to do for FCS squads, if anything? You guys let me know down below, and I will move on. Okay, I got a quick, fun topic I want to talk about. EA Sports College Football 26 will now pay schools based on game usage. If users play 7 million games as School A, the school's allocation would be 1%. Therefore, School A would receive $50,000. So basically, if people like playing with your team in NCAA college football, your school is going to be rewarded for that. Basically, the more your schools like the more people like playing with your school on EA college football, the more money you guys are going to make. So I think this incentivizes programs to push the game more, to promote the game. Hey, go play with Akron on EA college football 26. We get paid for it. The more you use Akron, the more we get paid. So I think this just incentivizes schools to use the platform more. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how they've been paying schools previously. I know they paid the players. I know they upped the pay that they're paying players this year. I think it got up to like $1,200 maybe. I don't know. I can't remember what they're paying players, but they're paying them more this year. They're trying to incentivize schools to promote the game more. Obviously, they made historic numbers on the game last year. They're trying to up that this year, and they're trying to find new ways to reward the schools as well, because obviously this wouldn't be possible without the schools, their players, the athletic directors, all that stuff. Let's find a way to reward these people. Like, I think Ohio State was a highly used team on EA college football last year. Obviously they won the Natty, but that is a school that would have been able to make a lot of money. I think South Carolina, they had a really fast receiver. They were probably a school that got used a ton on the game. That quarterback, the Liberty quarterback, I believe he got used a lot on the game. I'm sure Colorado got used a ton on the game last year. I mean, a lot of these schools are receiving a lot of playing time on the game. They should be rewarded for, I mean, I don't know if they deserve to be rewarded, but the fact that they are going to be rewarded for that, I think is pretty cool. You guys let me know what you guys think about that down below, and I will move on. Okay, I want to finish the video off today, and I found some ChatGPT jokes of the week. Now, I would love to do this every week. ChatGPT was able to come up with some jokes. You can deem whether they're funny or not. I don't know necessarily if I think the last two are super funny. I just thought they were interesting. The last two are going to be Montana State focused, but the first one is about FCS football. I'll try to find a few jokes through AI each week that I can say on the channel and see if we can find some funny ones. See if I give you guys a laugh. See if ChatGPT can give you guys a laugh. First one. Why don't FCS teams play hide and seek? Anybody? Because even when they're hiding, Alabama still finds them for a paycheck game. I think this is funny also. I think the funny thing about this is because ChatGPT is literally just surfing the web, going based off things that I have told them, but basically just surfing the web, trying to find information, probably on social media, looking at the jokes that people make, because this definitely seems like a joke that somebody on social media would say. Next, why did the Montana State fan bring a ladder to the Grizz-Cat game? Because he heard the rivalry was on another level, but he still couldn't reach the playoffs. I think ChatGPT was a little off base on that one. Montana State definitely just made the national championship, and they have been in the playoffs pretty consistently over the last 5 to 10 years. So ChatGPT, you need to do a little bit more research there. Last but certainly not least, what do you call 365 days without a Grizz win over the Bobcats? What do you call 365 days without a Grizz win over the Bobcats? A normal recruiting cycle in Bozeman. In parentheses, don't worry, Missoula. Don't worry, Missoula. It swings back eventually. Basically, a dig at Montana at the fact that the Bobcats have been winning in recruiting, which I don't think is a surprise. I don't think would be news to anybody. So, Bobcat fans probably think that's funny. Montana fans probably don't think that's very funny. But 3 jokes from ChatGPT. I'll try to find some more. Actually, I have a whole list of them, but, some of them really are bad, like really, really bad. ChatGPT isn't the funniest guy or gal around. So, yeah, you guys let me know what you guys think about these ChatGPT jokes. Let me know if you guys think I should continue to do this, and I will move on. Okay, I want to thank you guys for tapping into the channel this week. I appreciate you guys for coming back after I had a week off. I appreciate you guys for hanging in there with me. We are nearing the beginning of football season. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of things going on in college football, college sports in itself, outside of just the play on the field. But obviously, the play on the field is why we're all here in the first place. So, Big Sky Media Day coming up. Fall season coming up. A lot of these preseason polls are coming out. A lot of people starting to talk about what the 2025 season is going to look like. Obviously, there's people like myself who have been talking about it all off season, but it's starting to get more pointed towards that August 31st. I think August 23rd is week 0, and then August 30th is the first game of the season. So really big time in college football, really big time in college sports. I thank you guys for tapping into the channel. Please make sure you guys hit the like. Please make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Please make sure you guys leave me a comment down below. Please like the video. It helps out the algorithm a ton. Please help spread my content around. Please share my video if you like this type of content. Got some breakdowns coming. Looking at doing some more breakdowns as we near the beginning of the season. Want to look at some of those players who you should be looking out for in the 2025 football season. There's a lot of good talent at the FCS level. I've already done a whole host of breakdowns this offseason. I'm going to be doing more going into the remainder of this offseason. So if there's anybody you guys want me to look at, is there's a player that you guys want me to view, please let it be known in the comments. I will look at their tape. I'll look at their games and see if I can break it down. Obviously, I don't have all 22 of everybody. That's really what it comes down to. I love doing the all 22 breakdowns. I love all 22 film. There's nothing better than all 22 film. If I'm giving you a TV copy, just know there's a piece of my heart that is not fully in it, because I know I can't analyze the game as fully as I want to, and I know you guys can't get the best analysis possible. So just know all 22 is what I would want to break down. If I'm not breaking down an all 22 game, there's a reason for that. I don't have the all 22 film. When I have all 22 film, I break down the all 22 film. So just a little tidbit there about my breakdowns. I thank you guys for watching my breakdowns. I appreciate you guys for viewing the channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. I appreciate you guys. I will catch you guys next week. Please tune in back next week for another episode. Thank you so much. See you later.